Hi there and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth today. I hope you've had a wonderful week and that life is going well for you. If you are one of our returning subscribers, thank you so much for being part of the channel. If you're a newbie to the channel, I hope that you find content that you enjoy. I hope that this week has been kind. I hope that next week you're going to be experiencing an angelic shower or everything that you ever dreamed of in positive ways. Now, before I crack into the video, I just want to update you about what's been happening from a technological front, because if you've been coming to the channel for a while, you'll know that I've had a lot of nightmares. So I finally have the infrastructure in place. It has taken a while. It has been many headaches, great stress, but we now have the optical fibre installed. And I can tell you that it has made a huge difference to uploading content and downloading, because the way I work with this channel is I create these videos online and then I've got to download them and upload them. And it was incredibly time consuming before. Sometimes it could take an hour and a half to do a download and even to upload onto YouTube. So it was incredibly time consuming. So where I'm going with this is that aspect is now sorted. I do still have some technical issues, but I think I've worked out a way around it, because I think my desktop computer, which is the one that I like to work on, I think that one must need an upgrade, because there must be some kind of conflict between that and the packages that I use to create the videos. But I've got a new laptop and I've worked out that if I need to do the voice stuff, which I'm doing right now, I have to do that on my laptop. But when it comes to the making and creating part of the videos, I do that on my desktop. So there's still a few challenges there is where I'm going, but we are getting there. Progress is made, and thank God for that, is what I say. I have a feeling that this video is going to be long, knowing myself and my past patterns of behaviour, but I will try and keep it reasonably quick. Before I go into the content of this first part, Chitter Chatter, today I've decided to speak about subject matter that we discuss on the other videos that we might load, depending on the subject that I'm looking at. I loaded the content on a meteor this week, which is the angel of truth. And this is why I'm going to talk about truth, honesty, and integrity together today in the Chitter Chatter. But before we do this, I just want to acknowledge somebody that I actually know offline, that I've known for many, many years, has subscribed to the channel. And she made a comment to me via email saying to me that I have such a huge abundance of information that has taken her by surprise. But the reality, because of course she's known me for so long, but I've known her since 2002, I must say. So you're looking at 23 odd years that I've known this person. But either way, I commenced consciously my journey in year 2000, and I also made it part of my life path to accumulate information, if you like. And at different times, I made a personal decision to step back socially from you may as well say participating actively in society, be it relationships or with other people, as part of fulfilling my responsibilities. And I remember consciously making a decision at one stage. I'd just moved to a new town and I thought, I've got a choice here. I can go out, I can do what all the other mums do, single mums. I can go out there and try and find myself, the boyfriend, the perfect man, the divine partner, whatever. And I decided, you know what, I'm just going to wait until the kids are grown up. And when the kids were in bed, I just made it my mission, if you like, to try and develop my spiritual awareness and my consciousness, and to get understanding around a lot of the visions, if you like, that I was having. I'm trying to think of better ways to describe it. That would probably be a discussion for one of the lives at some point in time. So this is why, anyway, is because I was always seeking understanding and expansion of my soul, of my mind. And so in that process, I reached my own personal truths, as you do. Now, I should say that part of the motivation is because there is so much misinformation, and we as humans today, we are exposed to misinformation on a massive and enormous layer, as you're aware. it's either through the media or who the people who are around us. And I've made a lot of notes here, and I'll try not to sound too like I'm reading from a script, but I am, just so you know, just being honest, just letting you know I've got a heap of notes here in the script, but I struggle to stick with it. But anyway, when it comes to the people that we meet who are around us, sometimes they're either genuinely misinformed and think they're being honest, or they have personal or questionable agendas of misinforming people to suit their own ends. It could be for money or exploitation, or other times they simply have a very loose connection to what truth actually is in any way, shape, or form, because they are so deluded. Okay, now when we're not fully informed about a subject, or when we're partly informed, or even completely misinformed, then it can be very overwhelming and confusing. And this is compounded when we take on board misinformation or lies as being the truth or a truth. And this does happen in obviously the spiritual and the religious world as well, where some people, just because they have the role as a spiritual leader or church leader or whatever, we know that. We see it in the news where some of them are found to be corrupt or they've done devious things or whatever. They get exposed. But that doesn't mean all people in those positions are lacking in integrity, which we'll be talking about in a moment. Some of them are actually very good. But either way, because I was raised in a Christian religion, and I started asking questions at a very, very early age. In fact, my mother has told me that I was asking life-based questions when I was about 5 that she couldn't cope with. So I'm just going to share with you some of the conclusions that I reached along my path, okay? Now, just because it's true for me doesn't mean that it's going to be true for you, and vice versa. I'll explain why. So when we talk about universal truths, even they're true to me, a lot of them, not necessarily the universal laws in their entirety, because of course they're subject to personal interpretation. But if we were to say a universal truth is that we have a cosmos, well, that's true. I don't think any of us are going to disagree with that. But when it comes to ideas and concepts of the creator, well, some of us believe it's true. Some of us feel that we know in our heart that it's true because we actually feel that we have been shown evidence and proof that there is a creator God and that there are light beings and all the rest of it. So even within the believers, shall we say, you've got people that believe to be true and then people that believe they know the truth. So my gut instinct is that I feel that I know the truth for me, okay? But my truth is not necessarily what's true for you. So I'm going to explain or try and give you a bit of an example here on how that might work. I think a good place to start is actually by talking about chakras, and how you're going to, if you decide to do your homework and a bit of a Google, you'll look around and you'll see, well, this person over here says that the orange chakra governs X, Y, and Z. But when I go over there and check out this website, this person says that the orange chakra governs A, C, and X. Okay. So you could turn around and say within that equation that X is the shared truth. Okay. It's one that's carried by all. The differences are the personal truths, is the way I interpret it. And without going too far down the rabbit warren of conception and that kind of thing, I will say that one of the things that really threw me out in the early days was because I was hearing people turn around and say, the spirit attaches to the unborn child from the moment of conception. Okay, that's when the soul attaches to the child. And I thought, does it? Well, that's interesting. How does that work for miscarriages? As you do, if you're a questioner, you start asking these questions. And then I think I read somewhere that somebody had put forward their belief that the soul attaches to an unborn child when about mid-pregnancy, if you like. And then I read another one that said that no, it was none of them. It was that the soul would actually unite with the baby's body as it was being born and coming out the birth canal. Well, when I hear three separate stories like that, I start to get a bit confused. So what I did was I meditated on it, and I chose to connect with my own personal inner guidance and find my personal truth. And this is what I encourage other people to do. And my conclusions, yours might be different. If you've got a story associated with this, I invite you to put it up. But the conclusion that I reached is that it's different for people. It's different for the souls. It's different for each person, and it's contextual. So none of those situations are actually wrong, that they are all right at different times. And so therefore that becomes a case of let's withhold judgment because it's different. You know what I mean? It's, yeah, how can I say? It's not wrong. None of it's wrong. They're all right. So it just varies depending on the situation. And if I was to do a video on, or if I was to start talking about the miscarriage and abortion stuff, I'd probably need an hour-long video, and it would be so controversial that I might even get myself banned on YouTube. Who knows? But certainly you could reflect on that and you'd have to be very honest with yourself. You've got to be able to shift aside your biases of what you've been taught of right and wrong, set aside the judgment, and look at what feels right. I'm now going to talk about forms of dishonesty, if you like, and identifying how we can actually mislead ourselves. Now, oftentimes confusion lies around a denial of the truth. We're unwilling to see the truth because it doesn't suit our aims, our desires, or what it was that we were hoping to achieve, or what we continue to hope to achieve or have. Now, a prime example, and I'll use a simple form of this, and I won't talk about my family because it might be a bit controversial. So let's say, for example, here in Australia, I will use an example of red hair. Okay, so in my family, red hair runs genetically, as does this pure white porcelain type skin. Not that I've got it, but my great aunts all had this beautiful red hair with the porcelain skin, and it's a very large family. But either way, when it comes to the gene pool, not all of us have had children with this lovely red hair. Now, the red hair that we might have is shades of what we call blood nut here in Australia, that really vibrant red. Other colours are more of a strawberry blonde type. Sometimes we've got the occasional ginger come through. And interestingly, the ginger can be very overtly ginger when it's with curls, and when it's with the straight hair it doesn't look so ginger, shall we say. Quite often family members will call it strawberry blonde. But having said that, where I'm going with this is not all family members like the colour red, because it has become very unfashionable, shall we say, over the years. So I do have some relatives that whenever a child is about to be born, everybody will make jokes and cracks about, oh, I wonder if it's going to be born a redhead. What if it's a ginge, because some people don't want to have a ginge. Sorry to the gingers out there. I don't have a problem with the ginger, I've got to say. I quite like all red hair. But either way, there becomes these comments. And then, of course, you get the positive ones. Well, what if it comes out with that beautiful white skin? Well, you'll need to take out shares in the sun cream organisation, things like that. You'll need to buy shares for UVF protection. But where I'm going with the simple example of denial is when a family member actually does have a ginger and they don't want to accept the fact they've got a ginger, and the family members can turn around and go like, oh, look, you had a ginge, right? And the person that is the mother of the child will turn around and say, they're not a ginge, they're a blonde, right? And you're like, oh, okay, well, it looks pretty ginger to me, or it looks like a redhead to me. And they'll be going, no, they're not. And they get quite upset. Some of them, I say, not all of them. So the reality is that this is not just a denial. It's a blatant untruth because they don't want to acknowledge the fact that they have a redhead. So they will call it a blonde. But everybody else is just looking around going, okay, yeah, all right then. But we all carry that thought process, which is, well, you can say this child is a blonde, but evidentially and right before our eyes, everybody else knows that child is not a blonde. And even if the child has got red roots because they're out at the beach a lot, and the longer parts of the hair, they go white, blonde if they get a lot of the sun sometimes with the redheads. We can turn around and say, well, they might be blonde on top, but underneath it all, they're still a redhead. So this is an example of denial in a simple way that doesn't do any harm to people. But the thing is, it shows a behavior pattern there where they will actually lie to themselves for whatever their reasons are and believe their lies to be true. And inadvertently, what they're doing is making a statement that their capacity to perceive truth of any way, shape, or form is actually swayed by their personal biases for whatever reason. So, as far as getting rid of the confusion that we experience, discerning fact from fiction is vital to raising our self awareness and our own personal consciousness. And this is where the challenge lies for us as human beings when we're working from that space of the small self. So, I'm going to give you a tip and strategy on how you can tell truth from fiction. Just be aware, though, that even though I know this information, does not mean that I haven't made my own mistakes and that there haven't been times where I have ignored my guidance, and I would say at great cost to myself, simply because who knows, I'm not even going to try to explain why I did it, but I know that I did it, and it was upon reflecting in hindsight on why I took myself down a pathway that just created so much conflict for myself. I was able to recognize that I alone was responsible for the scenario that I put myself in back then, because I was given all the signs, all the guidance, and I could recall meditating for my answers, getting the answers, but not wanting to hear them and then disregarding them and telling myself, talking myself into believing, you might as well say, the delusions of my mind at the time. And so I chose to stay in a very unhealthy situation for quite a while. But anyway, going back to it, the way it works is when we are in a position of conflict or confusion and we're asking for our guidance, okay? When we're confused, we're going to feel things like butterflies. I've put this image up here for a very good reason, and this is to explain to you placements, okay? Actually, as I look at this, my little orange chakra is just a little bit high. So if you were to put your hand over your belly, just above, if you're a woman, your mound of Venus, and below your belly button, you're going to feel that area there. That's your orange chakra. Now, when we're working with fear and confusion and all of this kind of stuff, this is the place that we get the butterflies in our tummy and we get the nervousness come in. So this is the fear-based stuff. Now, when we're having an emotional reaction, it's always going to be centered around that orange chakra. It might go higher up. You might have anxiety as well. There could be energy happening in the throat chakra because you're not able to emotionally express this kind of thing. But the key factors are delusion and fear. You're going to feel it in the orange chakra. If you're asking a question of the divine and you're getting an answer, so let's say, I'll use an example. If I turned around and said, is it going to be sunny today? Right? And then I do that pause that you do, you wait for the response to come in. It's going to work slightly different for different people. We all get our answers in our own way. But so I'm just giving you an example, okay? Is it going to be sunny today? Pause, wait for my answer. The answer comes in. There's a clear knowing. I feel it in my yellow chakra. There becomes a sensation that happens in the yellow chakra, and that is our center of inner knowing. And when that chakra goes off, that's the truth. Okay, you've just been given a truth, and that is the place of center. Okay, this is our empowerment center. And when we're getting energy in the yellow chakra in answer to a question, that is an empowering piece of information. Now, if you're anything like what I was back in the day, you get it go off and then the mind kicks in because you think, well, that wasn't what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear that it was going to rain today. Oh, I'm just thinking, that wasn't my guidance. That was my fears. No, it wasn't your fears. That was your guidance. Okay. So we talk ourselves into remaining in unhealthy situations and we can ignore our guidance. So I hope that will be helpful information for you. Feel free to write a comment up or ask questions. I might do, if there's an interest in this topic, I might spend more time on it and perhaps do a 20-minute video on it. So I've put the meaning of integrity up here for you rather than read it out and spend too much time talking about integrity. I'll let you work that out for yourself. But basically, when we are delusional or fibbing to ourselves, being kind about it, then we do become false. We do become irresponsible. And I'm talking worst case scenarios here. We let people down. We're no longer reliable. We're not trustworthy because we haven't listened to our own guidance. So we compromise our own integrity, which is, obviously very difficult because once we start compromising our integrity, we start to compromise our relationships as well. So those people that we might have had healthy relationships with in the past, those relationships start to become a bit strange, shall we say, if not final, because we are no longer consistent. We've become unreliable. And once we become unreliable, we become untrustworthy, at least to them, and not necessarily through the core essence. It's not a deliberate act. When people become unreliable, if they're emotionally unstable, shall we say, or if they're not listening to their guidance, it doesn't mean that that person is malicious. It just means that they're no longer reliable. So basically, we're all beholden to try and retain and maintain our integrity. Now, I will put my hand up and say, look, there has been times where I feel that I have compromised my integrity, and it was never my intention to do so. But that doesn't mean to say that I don't pay the karmic price or consequence for making erroneous decisions, because we're all held accountable for our actions, whether they're deliberate or not. And while I do put my hand up and take responsibility for that as well, sometimes the things that we do, it's not all about us. While we're ultimately responsible for our choices and decisions and actions, sometimes we are relying on people that we should not have been relying on, which is what I've done. As I said before, failing to listen to my own inner guidance and then listening perhaps to what other people were telling me when my whole entire being is screaming at me to go a different direction. But instead of listening to my guidance, listening to other people's voices and going against my own truth, if you like, and then letting other people down. A bit complex. I'm probably being a little bit obtuse here, but that's okay. I don't really want to talk about this stuff right now, not on this video. But suffice to say that, as far as I'm concerned, integrity is one of my core values. And I guess if there is a karmic consequence for me, despite the fact that I feel that I let people down and that I compromised some relationships, I think probably I am my biggest judge and critic about taking these actions and failing to listen to my inner voice because of the pathways that it took me down. So I guess that also takes us back to the, judge not or ye shall be judged. I love that as a quote. And then there's another thing too, which I am reminded of as I was doing my notes. And that was that I don't judge people based on their religious or spiritual persuasions. And it is my personal truth, if you like, that whatever brings a person to the Creator and however they sustain and maintain that divine connection of love, care, and humanitarian consciousness and whatever, then that's a good thing. And whatever gives their life meaning and hope and keeps them living and breathing, and trying to do good, I see that as a positive. So I don't judge people based on religion, and I respect the fact that we all see things differently. And by that, I'm talking about the understandings of the chakras. You might have a different way of discerning truth from delusion as well. And I invite you to put that up. If you've got different viewpoints about angels, that's fine. But I have my views, and these are my truths on the channel. And when it comes to people that are fear based about angels, my answer to them would be, well, do you love God? Do you love the Creator, by whatever name you call the Creator? Do you really think that your Creator, your God, is going to take you to a place of less than love, shall we say? So this is why when I encourage people to invoke angels, I always say invoke the Creator first and the angels second. Anyway, I'm going to leave the chitter chatter behind now and get down to the nuts and bolts of the meeting today. It's not a meeting, but online video. I just saw how long this video has become, and I'm sorry about that, but I hope it's been an interesting dialogue for you. Anyway, as far as what's new and what's coming, I'm combining them together this week, and let's just get straight into it. I just saw how long this video has become, and I'm sorry about that, but I hope it's been an interesting dialogue for you. Anyway, as far as what's new and what's coming, I'm combining them together this week, and let's just get straight into it. I just saw how long this video has become, and I'm sorry about that, but I hope it's been an interesting dialogue for you. Anyway, as far as what's new and what's coming, I'm combining them together this week, and let's just get straight into it. The colour content, of course, is coming along nicely. I'm still working on some of the videos to come up. There's about 40 of them all told, so we're almost at the halfway point. This week you will have seen the healing properties of turquoise go up. Now, turquoise, while I've got these videos up and you can draw upon those and there is relevance to them. The other thing is too that turquoise, of course, is a colour associated with the throat chakra and communication. And so if you struggle with verbal expression and certainly expressing your feelings in loving and kind ways, you would draw upon the colour turquoise. From a chakra perspective, you would draw upon mauve actually when you're feeling confused in your mind. You know what I mean? If there's a lack of clarity of thought and that kind of stuff, you will definitely experience benefits if you work with this mauve colour, because it's actually associated with the crown chakra. Now, interestingly, you may have a different understanding of the colour lavender. Please do put your comments up. But for me, lavender, while it is associated with the content that I put on the video, I also associate it with protection, divine protection, sometimes astral travel, I might add. And I think this is largely because I associate the colour lavender with the actual lavender plant, lavender essential oil, which is peace, serenity, this kind of thing. And also when it comes to amethyst, while people refer to it as a protector, I don't actually see purple amethyst as being a protector. I see that more as a crystal for helping you to connect and center and open up to divine energy. But also because I'm very much aware, and I'll talk about this one day, I'll do a video on crystals, that it is through the use of amethyst that you can actually enhance astral traveling. But we'll talk about that another day. So as an extension to the video on lilac, I forgot to say on the other video, we're talking about lavender. Lavender is scheduled to be published on what day? Tuesday. And then lilac is scheduled to be published on Friday, I think. I hope I've got my dates right. But either way, I see lilac as sitting somewhere between the lavender and the mauve, shall we say, from a healing perspective. And the thing with the lilac, though, for some reason, and I could be wrong about this, but I feel that this particular colour is one that enhances our capacity to connect directly and have that personalised connection with both our guides and our guardian angel, I guess, is certainly divine guidance, I would say. In regard to the numerology content, yes, we're speaking about arrows on the birth chart. Next week is actually the final one. Okay, that series will be completed, and hopefully you've managed to get some value out of this, and it might have provided you a little bit of insight within your own situation or that of your family members or people that you're close to. Hopefully you'll have developed a little bit of understanding about why they do what they do and why they've had some of the challenges that they've had. I've already started on the video in regard to pyramids and peaks, okay? And this is because once we complete the arrows on the birth chart, then we're going to take a look at this, and I will teach you how to do your own pyramids and establish the peaks to look at. It's a little bit complex to explain in about a 30-second video. I'll leave you to watch the video when it comes out, but it's definitely worth. I find it fun. That's all I'll say. I find it fun, but maybe I'm a bit out there. I hope that you'll enjoy it. The angel content is also progressing nicely. This also is about 50 videos that I'm putting together, and at the moment they're being released one a week because I'm trying to actually finalise and complete the numerology content. Just so that you know, just flicking back to numerology for a moment, after we've done the pyramids and peaks, I will actually do a video on naming numerology, because I don't think I've done that yet. And I think I will then complete the numerology and start on something else, because I've decided at this point in time I don't think that I'm going to show people how to establish the karmic paths using the numerology. As much as it is interesting, I've got to weigh that up first and see if I'm being responsible by delivering that information in a public forum. I probably will. You know what? I will meditate and reflect on it. Back to the angels. Yes, this content is happening nicely. So as discussed, the content on Emotionalbalance has been loaded this week. You will have seen it, and this is why we've had the conversation today, well, the one-sided conversation, about truth today. And having said that, the content that I've talked about is not really discussed on the video, okay? Just letting you know that in advance. So Jamira is an angel of manifestation, and his video is scheduled to be published next Thursday. So I hope you will enjoy seeing that. The interesting factor I will say about that particular video is it doesn't speak so much about your typical manifestation processes, I guess. Don't forget that there is Archangel Jophiel, who is, if you like, the overseer or CEO of the whole process of manifesting. But Jamira plays a pivotal role within the manifestation process. And this particular video talks about how that process of manifestation unfolds, what his specific role is within the manifestation process, and how you can maximize drawing upon his gifts throughout any manifestations that you're trying to create right now. In regard to art and quotes, I did manage to get an art reel up this week, and you will have also seen the quotes by the Dalai Lama go up as well. Next week, I'm going to be putting up some quotes by Leonardo da Vinci, if you didn't realise who that image was of, because I would not be surprised. But do you like the artwork? Because that's one of my little creations. But anyway, look, let me know what type of quotes that you want to see go up, and I'm happy to try and accommodate it. I always say this, but yeah, happy to accommodate. Just let me know your preferences. Well, my friends, it's been a long one today. I do apologise for the length of it, but we have actually covered a lot of ground. I look forward to hearing from you, hearing your responses. Love to have a chat with you. Feel free to put your comments up, and I will catch you on the next video. I know there was something else I was going to tell you. I can't remember now, though. I'll work it out, and I'll update you throughout the week, and at the very least next Sunday. In the meantime, thanks for being part of my journey, my friends. Have a wonderful day, blessed week. Take care. Bye-bye for now.